Hello and welcome to the ITRS Geneos Tech Update, part of our ongoing series of product update webinars. Thank you for attending. We are going to discuss three exciting topics today: Fix Monitoring app, our new Google Cloud Platform monitoring plugin, and our MongoDB monitoring plugin. Before we start, there's just a few housekeeping notes. At the conclusion of the presentation today, we will be hosting a brief Q&A session. Please submit any questions at any time during the presentation in a designated question box in your webinar frame. At the end, we'll gather these questions and answer them for you. If we do not answer your question, feel free to contact your account rep, support relationship, or you can find us on LinkedIn. This webinar is being recorded and will be made publicly available. A link will be posted on our website at itrsgroup.com. Just in way of presenters, Michael O'Hara, Head of Sales of the Americas, and joining me was Loki Balakrishnan, who is the Geneos product owner. So let's jump in, Loki. Many ITRS clients today may leverage the Fix Analyzer plugin as a way to monitor and alert on Fix messages, sessions, and orders. The Fix app is the evolution of that capability. With new methods of Fix, log ingestion, and fit-for-purpose UIs, the Fix app takes monitoring order flow to a new level and brings Fix data to life. So what do we hear from our clients in the market? We hear from our clients that my team is tired of trolling through thousands of log files just to find a particular order routing issue. I need to see all my active Fix sessions in a single view. So these are the challenges that our clients are presented with. And with the introduction of the Fix app, we are going to allow our clients to meet those challenges head on. Loki, can you take us through a little bit of the background and then maybe a quick demo of the app?
Yep, sounds good. Thank you, Michael, and welcome everyone. So those are some of the challenges that Michael mentioned that we face today when it comes to monitoring the health of the Fix app, Fix transactions. So how do we solve these challenges? And that's something that we've been working on to rebuild our Fix monitoring capabilities. And back in December, we released the first version of the Fix Monitor app, and we will continue to work on this over the next few months to add more capabilities. So how does the Fix Monitor app help you to meet those challenges in order to avoid downtime, loss of business, and I guess more importantly, the operational risk, reduce the operational risk and reputational risk. Now, before we go on to the demo, just a quick summary of the solution. Now, the session health is a key part of monitoring the Fix transaction. To be able to detect and alert on sessions that are not active or connected when they should be, but also look for session health events that may indicate possible problems. So things like, session rejects, resend requests, and others. And also the ability to programmatically define the session schedules as well. This could be data from your Fix engine, to set up the expected active period or reset times, so you can manage the session and the counterparty changes automatically to add, remove, and update sessions via the API. So that's a key part of the solution. And the last one, full order reconstruction, right? To help you resolve issues quickly. You don't have to search through raw logs in multiple files and servers. Fix conversation view can help or group these messages together to trace the order history, for example. And that's a really handy sort of feature when you're trying to investigate order issues. And plenty of other features as well. So let's jump into the demo and we can walk through some scenarios. Let me switch back.
Okay. Yes. Great.
Right. So This here is the home screen of the Fix app. And this will give you the overall state of all your sessions and some high-level KPIs as well, like total messages, cancelled orders, filled orders, and things like that. You'll notice that we have some dummy data coming through, and we have a number of sessions connected up. So from this view, we can look at the session status, if sessions are connected, and some indication of when the last activity was, so you can keep an eye on whether the data is being ticking along. We can also see the session events as well. So what's causing these errors, the severity events. You can filter this view by the severity, the connection state. You can also search by counterparties, sender receiver names as well. So I only got half a dozen sessions here, but typically you might have a lot more sessions that you need to filter through. Now, each session has a config that defines the log on, log off times as well. So there's also support for the holiday calendar. This means that we can detect when sessions are outside of the expected state and generate alerts. And you can configure daily sessions. I guess most of the fixed sessions are daily sessions. But maybe some sessions are expected to last longer than a day, so you can have weekly sessions as well. So that gives you that flexibility. Now, typically you would have this session config in other systems, right? Maybe in your fix engine. So you don't have to manually set this up in the UI. So as I said earlier, there is an API so to configure this, so it can be derived from other places where you have this information. All right, let's go back to the home screen. Let's look at this session. Let's pick one of the sessions and let's have a look at that in a bit more detail. We can see a number of events here, a few sort of download trade and session rejects. We have a number of sort of predefined filters here. You've got business message reject, resend request, sequence resets, and things like that. So these are really useful to figure out what's gone wrong. In a future release, we will allow you to create custom filters here as well. So you could generate events based on specific message tags, or maybe using some custom tags like reputation score or some business logic that you want to build into. So these filters are the most common use cases, but in a future release we'll allow for the capability to add custom filters as well. You can look at the raw messages as well as the translated messages, so it makes it easier to read through. And once you investigate whatever the problem you have, you can clear these events as well. So you can go ahead and clear some of these events. And really, you have some sort of a workflow built into the app to keep track of those issues. And by the way, you can set up notification to other systems also. So, Slack, ServiceNow, so you get the alert notification delivered to the choice of your notification platform. Again, you have some KPIs at the top, session level KPIs. You can, let's have a look at the canceled orders. You can view them as a rate of change, or you can view them as an accumulated total over the day compared to yesterday and last week. I haven't got yesterday's and last week data to see, but that comparison is there. The event timeline is actually useful. Actually, this event hasn't got any. Let's pick an event with that's also gone. That's all been cleared. I think I've cleared all the events. So the event timeline is actually a good way to see the history of events. And you also get that overlay that indicates the log on and log off times. So that's a really good way to sort of keep an eye on a log on, log off, and reset times. And the event timeline also gives you, who has the events been cleared? Has it been manually cleared by a user? Maybe it's automatically cleared because the status of the sessions may be changed. Right. Let's look at the fixed messages. So you can filter these messages by category, whether it's an application only, session only, the message direction, whether it's outbound, inbound messages. But more importantly, the free text search is really useful to find specific messages. So let's look for something like, say, 35 equals to, let's change 35 equals to F, which are cancelled orders. And we can see here, quite a lot of cancelled orders here. We can even search by order number as well. Let's copy and paste this order number. And that should give us, and then in the conversation view is a really useful way to see the order history. So you can see here the new orders come in, execution report, cancel, the cancel request. Was it not much happening here in this order? But typically you would have a much more active order history. Now, I think that's everything. Everything for the fixed demo. Michael, did I miss anything?
Well, look, you've shown some, great visibility, great functionality, quick access to pertinent information. It's all been fantastic. Now, you did mention earlier that you can leverage an API for session config, and we think that's a great feature.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let me just show that quickly. So let me switch to the API. So the API I mentioned earlier, so it's a fairly simple REST API, and you can configure the holiday calendars using this, the session schedules, same as what you can do in the UI, but this can really let you automate the maintenance of the config. So it stays in sync with maybe the config you have in your fix engine, for example. So yeah, that's it's also a really good way to set up the sessions. Now, I think that's it. Let me switch back to the slides. We've got a couple of new plugins to talk about and a demo as well. Right, so let's start with the Google plugin. So we're quite excited to add Google Cloud Monitoring. We already support AWS and Azure. We've supported that for some time now, but it's good to add Google to that list as well. And we are seeing that most customers use at least two cloud platforms. AWS and Azure are the most common, but number of our customers are also deploying into Google. So what are some of the challenges? I think most users don't want to learn, deploy, and manage multiple tool sets, right? So if Geneos is your main monitoring platform, then we want to allow you to bring cloud data, AWS, Azure, and Google data into one platform. Now that makes it easier to build end-to-end visibility, right? So you might have applications that use some cloud capability for the front end, but also rely on the on-prem data centers and other services for the back end. So in order to diagnose these issues quickly, you need to bring that data set together so you can visualize that. And most users want to keep metric history so they can analyze the data for capacity needs and even look for long-term trends, right? So I believe by default, Google only keeps 6 weeks worth of data at the original sampling frequency. And after that, it downsampled to 10-minute buckets. So that's not really ideal, say for capacity analysis, for example. So bringing this data into a monitoring platform has many advantages. Now, how do we address these challenges? Now, Geneos lets you build custom visualization to to give you that end-to-end visibility, right? Once you consolidate the data from cloud containers, on-prem data centers, active dashboards let you build that custom visualization to map to your custom application workflows. Now, that's one of the popular requests we get from our customers in order to be able to build that visibility. Today, we support over 20 cloud services from Google, from compute, networking, cloud databases, storage, and more. And we are always adding support for more. So if you need something that we don't support today, we can add that quickly. And we can store the metrics for longer periods to then make use of that historical data for forecast and predict thresholds, threshold breaches, and things like that. Right. So next plugin. So we'll go to a demo afterwards. Let's get these couple of slides done, and we'll go through the demo. So what are some of the challenges to do with monitoring MongoDB? So what most users ask us for is something that works out of the box, right? It works out of the box, is secure, so they don't have to create scripts to maintain connectivity to sort of a highly distributed MongoDB service. And with MongoDB being a scalable distributed architecture, you really need some good set of metrics to understand performance, so you can diagnose issues quickly. And thankfully, MongoDB gives us lots of good metrics, and also the monitoring needs to be scalable, so you can scale up and down with the deployment. So if more servers are being deployed, then we need monitoring enabled automatically as well, so that you don't have to go in and make config changes. Now, how do we solve these problems? So recently we released an out-of-the-box plugin that replaces the integration script that we had for many years now. So this is now a properly supported and maintained plugin, and the plugin can monitor the server, the databases, including the replica set deployments. So if you got replicas across multiple servers, then we can monitor that as well. Like all of the recent plugins that we built, really, the cloud plugins, the Kubernetes monitoring, the MongoDB plugin also uses the dynamic entities concept in Geneos. This means the plugin support dynamically creating the Geneos data structures, like the entities, the samplers, and data views, without needing to make config changes. Right, I think that's probably enough for the slides. Let's jump into a quick demo. Let me switch to... Right, so the system overview page. So this really have got a number of groups here. So you got Google, AWS, Azure, Kubernetes. The grouping really allows you to build filters, so you can customize the way that you want to view this data. Let's take a look at the MongoDB data. You can use the filtering and grouping to see, let's see all the different block types by server, or you can look for database names, filter them by database name, look at the members for replica sets, and we can drill down into the data and see the metrics as well. And the same for the Google plugin. So you got the Google metrics, and I'm using number of dimensions and attributes here. So I have this one grouped by the service name and then the resource type. So you get the breakdown. For example, you got the pub sub service that is grouped by the topics and subscriptions. So, and the same for the compute, the networking, storage. So really that grouping allows you to discover the data, to navigate your way through it. Now the drill down really lets you, see all of those metrics. So you can see all of those data coming through, and all of the details metrics as well.
Loki, can I jump in here real quick? As you know, we have a good number of active console users on this webinar, and I'm sure they're watching with a keen eye, and they would have noticed that there's familiar looking metrics in the UI. For some of our long-time active console users, can you show the relationship between the data and observe and they would see in a classic Geneos view?
Yeah, good point. So let me bring up the active console. So you have, as you can see, you have the same data in active console as well. So all of those different services we're looking at in the web console is the same data in active console as well. So the plugins are all configured in the gateway, and the data comes through the gateways in the normal way. So you can see the same data in active console as what I was showing earlier in the web console. So while I'm here, let's take a quick look at the config as well. So let's look at the MongoDB config. It's fairly straightforward. We connect using the MongoDB connection string. We also support the DNS-based SRV connection types. That's really useful in a sort of a replica set environment, so the plugin can discover servers being deployed essentially without needing any config change. And of course, the TLS encryption, for secure connectivity as well. Let's look at the Google config quickly. The only required config here is the project ID. Plus, I have some filters as well. So I'm filtering it by the different services. You can also filter by the labels as well. So if you want, for example, only bring data from a particular zone maybe, or a particular type of metric, then you can do that as well. The main config that is not in here, which you might be wondering, is the connectivity to the Google API, right? How do we connect to the Google API? There are a number of Google recommended ways to set that up. As a best practice, they don't really want you to use sort of simple username passwords for connecting. So in this case, I have the Google Cloud CLI installed and set up on the same machine where the plugin is running. So it knows how to connect to the Google API. I'm going to finish with some dashboards to highlight some of the key metrics from both Google and MongoDB. Let me bring that up. Let's go to dashboards. It's MongoDB. There we go. So I'm running a demo system, demo MongoDB system here. So there's not much happening. It's a little bit light on metrics, but some of the key metrics for MongoDB, like replication lag, is an important one. So that really tells you if there are delays in the secondary servers, basically syncing up with the primary server, right? So typically anything more than 60 seconds or maybe a minute, 2 minutes is probably problematic that you want to look at. And of course, you've got memory, CPU, storage metrics. The assets are essentially sort of system errors. So important to keep an eye on them to make sure that those error counts are not spiking. Read-write performance. Let's let them load up. Read-write performance. So, whether you're querying, inserts, updates, deletes, keeping an eye on that performance is good as well. Obviously, not a lot is happening on this because I just set that up as a dummy database. Now, the last one I got there is the read-write tickets. That's a really good way to monitor for any CPU issues, essentially to do with the thread management of internally within MongoDB. So it's a good way to keep an eye on to make sure that there are available tickets. So you don't want to get that ticking down to zero. And if it is ticking down to zero, it probably means you're pretty much running full throttle and you probably need to scale up. So that's a quick sort of MongoDB dashboard. Let me switch to, I do have a Google dashboard as well. So a quick look. So I pulled some of the key metrics together for the various services that we are monitoring. It's worth mentioning at this point that although you can get Google Compute Instance metrics via the API, these metrics are not as real time as what you might get if you were running an app probe inside those compute instances. So if you're after more real time data, or in order to monitor the applications or the infrastructure, then running an app probe in those instances would give you more real time data. But certainly for lots of other Google services like Cloud SQL, PubSub, and others, the plugin can bring all of that data together. I think that's the end. I think I've been speaking for too long. Now I think time for some questions. So let me.
Yeah, well, thank you, Loki. That was another great presentation. We do have a few questions. We have a few questions related to Fix, and then we have a question concerned to Google plugins. So why don't we just start with the Fix questions, Loki? And I guess it's a fairly simple question. How do we get Fix logs into the app?
Oh yeah, good question. I didn't mention that on the demo. So we support a number of ways of doing that. The existing Fix Analyzer plugin, they can publish that data as well. Or if you're running FKM plugin, they can also read the Fix logs and publish that to Observe. So you can the app can then use that. If you're running Fix infrastructure in, say, in Kubernetes environment, then we have the Kubernetes plugin that can also collect the log data. Or if FluentD is your sort of a standard for log aggregation, then we have FluentD plugin that can bring that data into the platform as well. So there are a number of ways to do that in order to bring that data in.
Okay, so that's really depending on availability and what clients are using. So that's great. Flexibility is great, right? There is let me see here real quick. I have a question regarding custom tags. So are we able to pick up custom tags or user-defined fields in the Fix app?
Not today. That is something that's on our roadmap to do. So we definitely, almost all of the users do have some need for filtering by custom tags. And it's definitely something that we ought to do. So watch out. Maybe the next update in say 3 months, we'll have that done.
All right, we'll give it an affirmative answer to that next time. And then the last question on Fix, and it's a product question, and it's a deployment about the Fix app. Is this a separate pane of glass and not an active console? And obviously, this is based on Observe technology, so is it a separate license? And I think that's kind of a product/commercial question. Since the Fix app is based on our Observe platform and technology, yes, it is a separate license. And there are separate commercials associated with it. If somebody is currently leveraging Fix Analyzer, this is an additional and augmented view in terms of that data being brought in, analyzed, and visualized. I don't know if you have anything to add, Loki.
No, I think that sounds good.
Okay. And, we'll just wrap it up with a final question here on, we actually got another question. So we'll grab this before we wrap up with the Google question. Does Observe acknowledge snooze, etc., alerts, or is it purely a read-only application?
So you can, the snooze events do come through. Today you can't trigger snooze events in Observe, but that's something again coming on the roadmap.
Great. And lastly, what about logged in events from Google? Can the plugin collect logs?
Good question. So again, we wanted to get the metrics done first, but like the Azure and AWS plugins, we will have the log data coming up in the next release as well. So we will be able to get those logs and events coming through.
Okay. Great questions and good answers, right? So if there are any additional questions, please reach out to your contact at ITRS. Loki, once again, thank you for your time. Great presentation, great demonstration. Thank you for all those in attendance for joining. It's much appreciated. Once again, we will post a link to this recording on itrsgroup.com, and we thank you for attending.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.